What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Gridiron Bangahz, myself and Braden here. We are without Jake, just away for some personal stuff. So it's just going to be me and Braden today. Kind of a slow off season, obviously. Not a lot going on. We just had the NFL draft, and so that's what we're doing a video for today. It's going to be kind of low key. We're kind of all in off-season mode, so we're not all 100% with our setups. I'm personally not, on my computer, so we'll be doing a low-key one today, just kind of audio recording. But we'll get right into it. How you feeling, Brady?
Feeling good. Draft was fun, kind of getting football back a little bit. Just preparing us for this off season. I know training camp and all that's coming around the corner soon already, but yeah, enjoyed the off season and just draft was. Yeah, we'll talk about it, but it was a great one.
Yeah, no, definitely feel the same. Kind of been quiet up until this point. Finally got some football news, kind of reoccurring, and it might slow down a little bit until training camp. But yeah, we'll get right into it. 2024 draft. Um, you know, was a pretty heavy QB class. Saw a lot of QBs go all in the first round. Majority of them, those first three picks, QB. Definitely not surprised. But no surprise, the Bears taking Caleb Williams with the number one pick. Uh, I don't think anybody imagined them not taking him after Justin Fields leaving, kind of everything falling into place for them, and obviously they're betting on him being the guy. Um, and we can go into their next pick, but we'll kind of go in order. Obviously, they did have two in the top 10. But yeah, Caleb, no surprise, number one. I mean, I don't think there's much to really have to talk about there. I don't think that came as a shocker to anybody.
Yeah, no shocker. Once Justin Fields was out the door, kind of writing was on the wall that they're pretty much stuck at that number one pick with Caleb Williams. But yeah, like you said, a lot of quarterbacks in this kind of first round. We saw history being made with I think five or six being in the top 16 or something like that.
Mhm.
But crazy amount. So I get it. I mean, we saw this draft kind of happen like 3 years ago with Trevor Lawrence, the Mac Jones, all of them getting picked super high. A little crazier this time, but we see what a big difference a franchise QB makes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is kind of the key example of what he did to that franchise. So I don't blame these kind of teams using these high picks to try and find that guy to change their franchise around because I mean, all these top 10 picks kind of need that kind of franchise turner.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely think the Bears are going to be interesting to watch, especially having moved on from Justin Fields and kind of arguably having a very similar play style quarterback. Obviously, I think expectations are a little bit higher for Caleb. Um, and I think probably people. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people had him over Justin Fields right now in their current state. So, yeah, definitely much needed for the Bears to kind of shake things up. They've just been having struggles lately, and maybe a freshman QB might get them going. But second pick, another QB, Commanders. I think a lot of people were debating whether it was going to be Daniels or May. They ended up going with Jaden Daniels. We knew they were going to be taking a quarterback, traded away Sam Howell. Definitely need that guy at the starting QB to kind of get them going. They got a pretty decent receiver core. Terry McLaurin, he's not been the greatest, but he has that flashes of greatness every once in a while. And he's a star receiver in the league. Just needs the right QB to get him the ball. And they got some young guys, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel. I think they might have moved on to Fairman. I'm not too sure, but um, yeah, Jane Daniels kind of has that comp to Lamar Jackson. Can get it done on the ground, but has a cannon of an arm. Can get it out very quick, pre-snap, and gets the ball out quickly. So a little bit surprised. I know a lot of people were taking maybe May over him, but I think most people, at least most of the analysts, had Jaden as the number two quarterback in this draft.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think they just want a quarterback, so yeah, it made sense with Daniels. I just feel like teams that have like a very kind of bad history of quarterback like just play. I feel like they when the draft comes, they kind of like that athlete, the one that can do everything, rather than kind of like a Drake May, that pocket passer. I mean, has athletic traits to him, but that's not what makes him kind of head and shoulders over everyone. So Jaden McDaniels made sense. Another team that just got another head coach, kind of like the Patriots. We'll talk about next, but when you get that new head coach, you want that QB because that's kind of the guy who's going to keep you your job. So I like this pick from the Commanders. Yeah, it's hard to screw it up for them at that point, but it's
Yeah, definitely.
interesting offense, like you said. The receivers definitely want to see Terry McLaurin with an actual QB.
Yeah, for sure. I think they made the right pick here. Because I mean, we're kind of going into a league where that mobile, you got to have that QB that just has that mobile aspect to him.
Yeah,
So, um, yeah, like you said, next up, third pick, Patriots, Drake May. We know the Patriots were itching for a new quarterback, just couldn't get it done with Jones and what's his name? What was the backup?
Zappy, Bailey Zappy.
Yeah, Zappy. They
Yeah.
just kept teeter tottering between the two and never really could settle down with one. And they finally, you know, haven't had a decently big name at QB in a long time. Maybe Drake May's that guy. You know, had a pretty decent college year. He's pretty, I think, one of the more tougher QBs outside of like that, known for being mobile. Um, I don't want to say, black versus white QB, but a lot of
Yeah.
these, yeah, you know what I mean. But I feel like he's definitely a lot more tougher than some of these other quarterbacks outside of the super known for being mobile. But I think I think it's a good pick for them. We knew they were going to take a quarterback, and outside of Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, he really was the best there was going to be. I mean, I know some people were putting JJ McCarthy a lot higher, but I think just a safer pick at the QB position, just because you know McDaniels or yeah McCarthy. Sorry, McCarthy has I feel like more risk of a bust than I'd say May does, but who knows? I mean, Patriots just kind of had bad luck with QBs after post Tom Brady, so I mean, just could be a repeat of what we've seen. But like you said, new head coach wants to bring in a new quarterback. Um, it just made sense all around, especially for the third pick. There wasn't really going to be any other option other than May or Daniels if
Yeah.
May ended up going to the Commanders.
I'm pretty much with you. I think it was whatever QB was left of the three, pretty much for the Patriots. I feel like Jake May might have been their guy. Kind of fits them. I mean, they're always kind of used to that more pocket passer, more the gunslinger. I mean, you had Brady. Wasn't really the athletic kind. Sure, we were set, not too much of a scrambler. Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi. Not none of them are like purely like those athletic freaks like we see like the Lamar, the Justin Fields, the Caleb Williams. So makes sense. They don't have to change their system too much to fit a new fit the new QB in there. Since yeah, with Jaden Daniels, you probably have to switch it to let him use his legs more. But I think Dre May going here is a nice fit. Yeah, Patriots need a quarterback, and yeah, they got one of the three, so no complaints from them.
Yeah, no, for sure, definitely. I definitely think they're expecting a lot, especially coming after Mac Jones. You know, expectations are pretty high for him, I'd say. But next up, fourth pick, Cardinals. No surprise here with what was left on the board. Marvin Harrison Jr., first receiver. Kind of a no brainer. They look like, there was some question whether or not Kyler Murray was going to be staying, but they decided to stick with him. And at that point, it makes sense to, get some skill players around him. They just gave away Marquise Brown. So we knew kind of coming into this, they were going to be, if he was there, they were going to be taking Marvin. And, you know, he's definitely, I know some people might argue that maybe a few other receivers on paper are better, or not on paper, but secretly or sleeper picks better than him. But on paper, he's just the number one receiver, and no surprise that he goes the first receiver off the board. Has a lot to live up to. I know all the hype has been crazy about him, but we'll see how it's going to work with Kyler Murray coming off of an injury. Question whether or not he was going to be there. So I definitely think he's coming into a tough situation with a team that just kind of really struggled to find its identity with Dobbs and moving on from Dobbs, and then winning games when nobody really thought they were going to win, and people thought they were going to tank, and then they just kind of went on like a spree there where they were just outworking teams, and they still lost some of them, but yeah,
Hmm.
definitely kind of a tough situation I think for him, but he's gonna I think he'll be good. Maybe potentially might not be the best receiver come the end of the year, just stat wise, just being on a tough team. Um, but I think overall, just the skill and the talent and the athleticism, I think no doubt he was going to be the first receiver.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of hype around him, as you said, and I can say I'm one of those people. I drank the Kool-Aid. I am Marvin Harrison. I thought this could be one of the worst mistakes in the Cardinals franchise if they pass on him. I see him as a generational talent. I like the Cardinals fit. You still get QB and Kyler Murray. I know we're not very high on him, and a lot of people aren't, but he is still one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I won't put a top 10 on him, but still one of the better quarterbacks in the league that a lot of teams that don't have a guy wouldn't mind having as their kind of the guy at the head. So I don't mind that. They don't have many options, so I kind of differ. I think he might be the best receiver fantasy wise because
Mm.
like you said, they got rid of Hollywood. They don't have options. This guy is a freak of nature. You took him fourth, so you know that they value him high. So I think he's going to be their main focus of their offense. James Conner's nice, but I don't think you featured around Connor instead of Harrison. So I like where he is. I think the future is bright for him. I'm definitely someone I'm going to watch. I don't watch many Cardinals games, but I have a reason now.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. Yeah, I mean, now that you put it that way, yeah, he definitely could be very
Yeah.
useful fantasy wise. Kind of like you said, kind of being the feature target there and the feature of that offense. At least from the skill
Yeah.
position outside of the QB. But
Yeah.
yeah, no,
I
I
don't
think
want to. I
what was
don't
that?
want to say he's going to be Justin Jefferson, but I kind of see a similar route where, like,
Hmm.
once Justin Jefferson came in, he kind of took over that offense, and in year two, he exploded. And then, I mean, we see where he's at now. He's asking for probably the biggest contract outside of a quarterback to be given, and rightfully deserved. And I kind of see him. If Marvin Harrison can live up to his hype, I can kind of see a similar path where your team's not very productive, but you are that standout on that team that just shows the league that okay, this guy is a guy no matter where he goes.
Yeah, no, I definitely think he's got that potential.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, I think the Cardinals would have made a mistake if they hadn't taken him. They kind of had
Yeah.
to at that point. Um, it was
Yeah.
just a question of whether or not he was going to fall. But you know, when the first when the top three teams on the board are all kind of QB hungry, it kind of fell into their hands easily. But moving on to the fifth pick, the Chargers. Definitely, maybe some people hadn't expected it, but on paper, it makes an extremely and tremendous amount of sense. Joe Alt, offensive tackle. Um, the man's a giant. I don't know if you like caught any of his like draft videos when he was like at
Oh
home
yeah,
with his
he's big.
family. That man is a behemoth. He's
Yeah.
gigantic. But yeah, I mean, we saw the Chargers just kind of struggle all year offensively. Um, gave up a lot of sacks. Offensive line really struggled, and Herbert couldn't really get whole lot done. And they're bolstering up that offensive line to kind of protect him, and it just makes sense. It's just a smart pick, for sure. I think the best lineman in the draft, um, and yeah, he's definitely going to be good for them. Definitely going to help protect Herbert, and we know that they needed it.
Yeah, I feel like almost it's one of the safest picks in the draft to go one of the top linemen, top five. Just I don't know. It's like you said when you see him on when he was at home, he just looks like a freak. You kind of have to look like that when you're a tackle getting drafted fifth overall.
Yeah,
So, but great pick. I love the pick. I get it. A lot of fans aren't happy because they need a receiver. I mean, they've lost pretty much all of them. I can't remember who their number one is. It was their like second or third string from last year. But they have one guy left. But I like this pick. You sent the O line first rounder last year on an O line. I'm blanking on his name. So, but it was a tackle. So they have the tackles down. You want to just keep Herbert safe. I mean,
Yeah.
we see what he is, what he can do. As long as he's on the field, they have a chance at making any miracle happen. He's kind of one of those quarterbacks, just hasn't proved it in the big games yet, but definitely has the talent. And with Harbaugh going there, makes sense. I think they want to run the ball and kind of play action, let Herbert make some put the ball in his hands every once in a while. But I think they're a run team, and this definitely is going to help the run, having two solid tackles out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. That offensive line is looking much, much better. Yeah, like you
Yes.
said, I know there's going to be a lot of questions about that receiving room, but yeah, I mean, on paper, it's just a smart pick. I mean, with that size of a lineman, it's kind of can't go wrong there making that pick. And I think, yeah, they're just thinking from a standpoint of protecting Herbert because at the end of the day, Herbert
Yes.
can get it done. We've seen QBs, Mahomes, he can get it done with nothing. Um, as long as you have decent protection. I mean, we know Mahomes
Yeah.
is kind of an exception. He can get it done no matter what. But um, yeah, it starts with the
Definitely
offensive
helps to
line
have
for sure.
protection. Yeah. This looked like the pick for the Bengals, I think 2 years ago, when it was Jamar Chase or Penei Sewell. There was a
Yeah,
Marvin Harrison, that's not completely, but I know the Bengals kind of sometimes wish they did have Penei Sewell just with how Burrow's kind of career is going right now with the
yeah,
injury. So you don't
yeah,
want to see that happen to Herbert, and so good sign for the Chargers.
yeah. But yeah, next pick, sixth pick, Giants receiver Malik Neighbors. Um, Definitely, I think the next best receiver. Maybe you could make an argument for Rome. Um, but I definitely think it could go neck and neck. But uh, for sure, going to be number two to Harrison. But um, Giants, you know, we've seen their struggles offensively. Now they don't have Saquon, so that running game is probably not going to be as dominant, or I mean, not dominant, but relevant as it was. Um, Not a lot of big names at the receiver. I know they, had a couple decent picks in the draft last year and had some decent rookies, kind of had some flashes, but nobody really kind of stood out and kind of took over that number one position. And Neighbors could be that guy. Definitely not as much hype around him as Harrison. But I know I've talked to a lot of people who thought that he was better than Harrison, um, and expect him to be just as good or have an equal if not better career. Um, but I mean, in terms of what the Giants need, I definitely think it's a good pick for them. Um, not a lot of whole, not a lot to expect from them, even with this pick for the year. I mean, they got a lot of needs and just filling what they can basically with what they've got. But I don't think it's a bad pick. I think Neighbors could be just as good as Harrison. I don't want to say better, but who knows? It's a toss up. Anybody can really be good at any point. We've seen fifth rounders be better than first rounders, so uh,
Yep.
I think it's a good pick for them.
Yeah. I like the pick. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, it's pretty much a crapshoot with everyone. But I can't say I watched too many receiver highlights with my team not really looking in the first round. But I saw a little bit of him. I like Malik Neighbors. He looks good. Giants, I felt like we're in a pretty good spot. I mean, they're not good franchise wise, but they could kind of just go with the best available position. I mean, they have a lot of holes. We can talk pretty much almost any position group on their team, and they wouldn't mind getting extra help there. So,
Yeah.
but Malik Neighbors definitely helps. Definitely, whatever QB comes in to be the starter. I know they're having talks about Drew Lock maybe being the starter there, giving up
Mhm.
on the whole Daniel Jones experience. But yeah, giving him a weapon, especially like you said, losing Saquon, just give your quarterback someone to at least help them. So it's just not them trying to make plays all by themselves. And when you don't have that go to for those franchise QBs who try to do it all themselves and aren't that level, just they don't look good and they don't last in this league long.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure, definitely. Like you said, I think they could have made any pick really at any position, and it would help them because they just need it.
Yeah.
But um, next pick, set number seven, the Titans take J.C. Latham, uh, another lineman. Just kind of one of those, filling a need, offensive line. We know that kind of that QB situation It's kind of iffy right now. I know we saw flashes of Levis, but then he kind of, you know, regressed a little bit. Maybe that was because the injury. Um, but I still think they expect him to be the starter. Uh, we know that they're without Derrick Henry now, so that offense is going to look much different. Um, they got decent receivers. Uh, DeAndre Hopkins, and then uh, who was the other one they signed?
Calvin Ridley
Yeah,
in the
Calvin Ridley.
offseason.
Yeah, now they got Calvin Ridley. So the receiver core looks is decent. We know what those guys are. That we know what those names are. We know what they can do if they have the right tools. The right quarterback under center. And we saw the flashes from Levis. And I think this is just a pick to like the Chargers. Just want to kind of boost that offensive line to protect their quarterback.
Yeah, pretty much with you. Not much to say about this one. They pretty much showed a lot of the rest of their offense in the last season, so it makes sense to go to tackle. I probably would have liked to see them go defense, but I mean, it doesn't seem like any of the defensive players were worth taking a pick here. This is the first one goes at 15, so.
Yeah.
But I like the pick. Never can. I will never hate on a lineman pick in the first round. One of the most necessary picks to take.
Yeah,
Not
they
the
really are.
flashy ones, but they really could change your team.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, like you said, kind of not much to go off that one. It's just at 7,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to really go anywhere else, especially when they don't need a quarterback or a receiver.
Yeah, they have the rest of their offense filled out.
Yeah. But with the next pick, number 8, and I know we'll probably have a lot to talk about this one. Definitely I think most people are saying the biggest surprise of the draft. The Falcons take
Yeah.
Penix Jr., quarterback. Um, I even if you make the argument for why they pick it, it still just doesn't sound right. And I know people will say, "Oh, maybe they did it because Kirk is coming off of injuries, and who knows if he's going to be solid, and you know, just in case Kirk can't go or he gets hurt, they got the next guy up." But I mean, for me, it's you sign a big contract with Kirk and kind of waste a pick on a quarterback. Where I feel like in an extremely heavy quarterback draft class, they definitely could have gotten much better value in a later round for maybe some of these other guys who aren't in that first round conversation, but could definitely fill a backup role. So I
Mhm.
mean, I, I don't know. I know Falcons kind of are revamping everything, moving on from you know a lot of their coaching positions. Got a new head coach. Moved on from their rookie quarterback. Signed another veteran quarterback. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it was a great pick, and I know a lot of people would agree, but I just don't see the value of, especially a quarterback like Penix.
Mm. Yeah, I get the argument. I might be one of the lone people in here. I know a lot of people I talk to about this pick aren't happy with it, but I preferably would have liked them to wait a year before taking quarterback. I mean, like you said, they just signed Cousins. They didn't tell him about it. He thought he was going to be the guy, and you sign his replacement before he plays a snap. Kind of hurts, and I'm a huge fan of Kirk, so not a fan of it. But I don't hate this pick. I mean, if you think Penix is the guy, you go and get him. I mean, we've seen it so many times. I mean, we can talk about what happens if the Packers don't draft Rodgers because they had Brett Favre, or what happens if the Chiefs don't draft Patrick Mahomes because they had Alex Smith. I mean, it's when you find a guy in the draft and you think he's the guy, you got to make that play. We've talked about how big that is, and if they think he's the guy, then I don't blame them for this pick. You don't want to see him go somewhere else and be like, oh, we could have drafted him, we had a chance, we loved him, but it just didn't fit us at the time. So I'm not mad. I would have liked to see this a year earlier, but if the Falcons really believe he's the guy, I love the pick for them, and if he turns out to be the guy, we're gonna look back at this and we're gonna say that the Falcons were geniuses and won this draft. So it's tough looking at it now with all you said. Yeah, they could have used help. We always talk about their offensive weapons, so I don't think they wanted anything on offense. And with how the draft went, they're wasn't many top defensive players on the board that you would like to spend at 8. Like I said, the first one was not until 16, so I don't hate this pick. But I'll stand by it. I'll live with Penix. I'm not a huge fan of him, but I must have seen something.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I can see that. I mean, we know that at any given moment, your starting quarterback could be done.
Hmm.
Uh, so we know that they've had struggles at QB. They, like the Patriots, were kind of filtering in quarterbacks left and right. Couldn't really figure out the guy. Um, and yeah, I mean, I guess in a worst case scenario, he just kind of sits there and he learns behind Kirk, and then Kirk gets hurt or doesn't pan out. They got the next guy, and if Penix lives up to the hype, then yeah, I could see it working out. But I mean, on paper, it just like you said, they just signed a big deal with a veteran quarterback. Might have been
Yeah.
able to get some other weapons, something other than a quarterback here, where I felt like they didn't necessarily need it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah. And
like
I
this
feel like
wasn't
with just the
this
way
wasn't a
this
necessity pick. This was just a
yes, future kind of
yeah,
hold your chips. Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean we've seen recently. I'm not a huge fan of Jordan Love. I think he's kind of just with this way the season ended, he's kind of riding the hype train for him still. But it's gonna be a scenario like that where you give the man some time to kind of get used to the league. Don't throw him out right away. Have Zach Wilson's where they just put out too many bad plays and now you're like, I don't even want to give you a seventh for him to be my like backup.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he's more of an experimental piece, so give him time and you have the young weapons that you can kind of wait for it too. So like I said, I'm not the biggest hater of this pick, but
Yeah,
I
I
get
could
it.
see both sides.
Yeah, I can see your side too where
Yeah,
they would have been a lot better this year if they spent it on someone else.
yeah. But yeah, moving on with the next Chicago Bears pick in the top 10. Number 9, going receiver with Rome Odunze. That's how you pronounce it, I think. But
I believe.
yeah, I definitely think a lot of people were expecting a receiver here to pair with Caleb. Uh, just kind of made sense. Maybe they could have gone for O line defense. Um, where maybe a position that they really, really needed because we know that their receiver core before this pick was actually fairly decent, signing Keenan Allen,
Yes.
um, and then DJ
DJ
Moore.
Moore
Yeah, DJ Moore kind of having a breakout year. Um, so I felt like this
signed
wasn't,
Deion.
yeah, this wasn't a necessity pick. Because we know, I mean, Keenan Allen, he's great. Maybe he's getting a little bit older there. Um, maybe regressing a little bit, but he's still one of the top receivers in the league for sure. Uh, but I think it's a pick that makes sense. You want to give Caleb the weapons, uh, to make him successful, especially when you're coming in, you know, having struggles with the QB, struggles with having weapons for that QB, and just your fan base having a lot of expectations for your play and just not really living up to it. So I think they're definitely just trying to set up Caleb for success here to not kind of have that Justin Fields treatment from the fan base, where he comes in with high expectations, doesn't really live up to it, and everyone's just ready to move on. Because obviously, I think expectations are much much higher for Caleb than they were
Yes, agreed.
for Fields coming in. So I could see this as just trying to give him the weapons to set him up for success. Because I mean, at the end of the day, as good of a QB as you can be, unless you're a name like Patrick Mahomes, you got to have those guys to throw the ball to. And we saw Mahomes struggle with those guys dropping balls, dropping passes, dropping wide open, just receiver play, kind of losing games for them. Um, so this is a very receiver dominant league. We're kind of regressing away from feature running backs. We go into committee running backs. So uh, I definitely think this is a big pickup for them. Um, I think you watch all the draft videos. It looked like Caleb and him kind of already got a chemistry going. It looks like they're pretty close, and the confidence of Caleb is crazy. I don't want to say it's like ego, but his confidence is up there. So I definitely think it's not a bad pick. Maybe they could have filled a bigger need somewhere else, but at the end of the day, you can't go wrong with picking an elite receiver like Odunze.
Yeah, I had pretty much. I like the pick. I'll just start with like the pick. I did have two things come to mind when the pick was kind of made first. First of all, I thought I'm very surprised for the Bears not to have any history of drafting any good QB. They're taking Caleb Williams, like we said, and then they seem like they're buying in already that he's going to them a championship team. Just the way they spent their offseason, just with the draft pick, they're looks like they're trying to win now with a rookie QB and give him no excuses on why he doesn't work out. So I like the pick. The other thing is more for future reference. I'm kind of curious to see how maybe next year goes. I got to look at the contract situations, but I don't know if this is a replacement for DJ Moore. I know he's been here maybe 2 years. I don't know if they signed him after they traded him. So I don't know what his contract looks like, but I don't know if he's going to eventually be a replacement for DJ or if it's because Keenan's getting old. So
Mhm.
curious to see how they handle that room going forward when contract situations arise. Because they do have the money with Caleb Williams, but I can't see you wanting to pay three receivers that will ask for money when they can.
Oh yeah, no, I could definitely see that. Yeah, you
Yeah.
mentioning that does make that makes sense.
Yeah. But right now they have the best trio of receivers in the league.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the final of the top 10, the number 10th pick, the Vikings, who traded up to get here, uh, take JJ
Before
McCarthy.
the draft. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they had to trade up to get to 10. JJ McCarthy, quarterback. Um, definitely, I think it was shocking, but not yet shocking. Um, I know maybe a lot of people didn't really like McCarthy coming in the draft, kind of had him a bit lower on their boards. Maybe some people would have taken Bo Nix over him. Um, but we know the Vikings were more than likely going to be taking a quarterback. Obviously, no more Kirk Cousins. Uh, didn't really have the QB play post court. Kind of Dobbs came in, didn't really. I mean, he had some flashes, but we knew that it wasn't likely going to be a long term
Long
deal for
term.
him there. Um, and just kind of everything postseason led up to the fact that they were going to be taking a QB. And I definitely I think personally McCarthy is not a bad pick. I think I would put him over. I personally would put him over Bo Nix. Um, but I don't know. I mean, he definitely could be the guy for them. I'm sure they saw something they liked. Otherwise, they wouldn't have traded up to get that. Uh, but
Yeah, 10th pick.
I definitely. I mean, I think there's no harm in taking a QB here, especially with what you have. You got arguably the best receiver in the league, one of the biggest names, rookie names from last year. Jordan Addison kind of had the best rookie receiver year outside of Puka. He was kind of the second best up there in the stats. And the future's bright for that offense. And we know they just kind of moved on from Dalvin Cook and Madison and um, who's their running back now?
Wish I could tell you
Um, drawing,
that.
drawing a blank on their running back. But yeah, I don't think it was a
Alexander
bad pick.
Madison.
Oh, is it still
Oh, Aaron
Madison?
Jones. They signed
Yeah,
Aaron
Aaron Jones.
Jones
That's right.
yesterday.
I knew they signed
Yeah.
somebody. Aaron Jones. I mean, Aaron Jones. He's definitely not one of the bigger names of the postseason running backs to move, but we've seen what Aaron Jones can be. He had some decent years, and I think in that offense he can definitely do a lot better. And I think he's a step up for sure from Madison. Um, but yeah, they definitely have a lot of offensive talent, and they need that QB to be able to hit those guys. And McCarthy definitely, I think, could be that guy. Going to take a little bit. I don't think it'll be immediate success right away. I think it'll take a little bit of time to develop into it. But I definitely think it's a value pick for what they wanted at QB. Um, definitely, outside of those top names, Caleb, Jaden, and Drake. Maybe they were expecting to get Penix, if the Falcons hadn't have made that kind of wild pick, but I think it's the next best after those four.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think at least for all the QBs in the first round, I think the order that they got taken in was correct. I think that's kind of how I was seeing it a little bit.
Mhm.
There was debate, but that was just kind of how I saw it. So I'm not mad with this pick. I like I think the biggest win for the Vikings was they didn't have to trade up again because they did trade to the 10th pick to kind of be ready to have to trade up for a QB if they need to. Because
Yeah.
once the season ended, they said, we're trying to get Kirk Cousins back, but if we don't, we are getting a QB. So it was kind of already known to the world that this was a QB pick wherever they were going to pick. But I love the pick. He seems like he fits there. I don't know. Might just looks like it fits. I don't know. It's weird for me.
Yeah, I
It
know. I
just
get what
looks
you're
right
saying.
to
It does
me.
kind of it
Yeah.
looks right. Yeah.
It fits. But I like the pick. Yeah, you had a lot of holes. You're not really in contention right now. But this at least gives you a cornerstone piece if you hit on this, and it shows Justin Jefferson. I mean, we talk about he's coming up for a contract that you guys are still trying to win, and I know he's a competitor and he's going to want to win, and he's not going to want to re-sign with a team that has no direction for the future. So I like the pick and works out.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, that'll wrap up the top 10. We'll go over some more picks. Maybe some bigger names outside of the top 10. Um, But that'll wrap up this video. The next video we'll kind of go over those, and then the next video will also kind of break down our own team's picks. But yeah, that'll wrap up this one. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and check out the next one. Shoots.